Being new to bikes, riders of these three machines will, at some point, have to get a full bike licence. So we head down to Randburg and put ourselves and the bikes to the test.
So, gentlemen, I know I'm right in saying that we're going to put our own special spin on these tests, because we've seen what they are and they do look very easy, so we're going to make them a little more entertaining.
Obviously, one of the most important tests when you take your K53 licence, emergency stop. However, to put our own little spin on it, to cater for the youthful market for motorcycles like this, the test now involves taking off, going into second gear, pulling your phone out, beginning to text, and then hitting the brakes at the assigned time. Easy.
So, a one-handed emergency stop and a skid and a fail for Donovan. Harry fumbles for far too long, misses the braking marker, and fails. I, unfortunately, get this very, very wrong.
Now, in this next test, it's quite simple. The bike has to start from there, go around this corner, and then bugger off that way without anything bad happening. But there's more to it. We all know youngsters these days, they like to have dark visors so they can be like Valentino Rossi. And inevitably, they're going to get caught out by having to ride at night. So, what we've decided to do...
Sorry.
Yeah. As you can see here, Lord Harry, as he can't see here, we've duct taped up his visor, just left a small little slot there, and he's going to perform it without actually seeing. Mate, that way.
Stop moaning. If there's one thing we do know about teenagers, is that they are obsessed with the way they look. Any shiny surface that they may walk past is fair game for a quick look and a quick preen. So for this test, where you have to do a nice left turn, a stop, and a left turn, all very controlled, we have to do this against the clock, but without taking your eyes off the mirror. Not as easy as it sounds, as Don is about to demonstrate.
Let's be honest here. This is bound to be difficult for Don, a man who quite obviously, very rarely, looks in the mirror. Without my reading glasses, the mirrors are just a blur, so I'm just bluffing my way through this test, really.
But it's not quite as simple as that, is it? You need to get yourself a licence. And how do you go about getting that? Well, I've got a man who knows how to answer that question. And the man to answer that question is Malcolm Tennant from Biker Bravado. Malcolm,
hello, Matt.
Thank you very much for helping us out.
You're very welcome.
Is it as easy as they say to get a bike licence?
Well, it's relatively easy. Obviously, you have to know how to ride a motorcycle. But there's two sections. One is to do your learner's test, which is a written test.
It's multiple choice, isn't it?
Multiple choice. Gives you 20...
Even I've passed it, so it's pretty easy.
That's not bad. You're given 24 months to do your main tests within that learner's test period.
OK, so you get 2 years afterwards?
2 years, yes.
OK.
And then during that time, you need to come along for some training of how to pass the test.
OK, so you've got a written multiple choice thing to begin with. To get your full licence, so you never need to take it again. Explain what goes on briefly. It basically takes place in a car park, doesn't it? Someone stands and watches you, and you have to pass a series of tests which show your basic, very basic cornering and braking ability, I suppose.
Absolutely. It's basically a simulation of what happens on the road. And I guess samples are taken from the road and put it into a sketchy area. And then from there, folk are expected to perform according to a certain requirement. So it's a conforming exercise.
It's always the same test, therefore you can train people specifically on exactly the same layout and specifically for the sort of 8 or 9 disciplines that they'll be forced to show that they know how to do.
Correct. But if they can't ride correctly, then those things are shown up. So the techniques have to be in place for them to be able to pass the test correctly.
We're talking about all the stuff like mirror, check over your shoulder, you've got to put all those things into...
Yes, and not touch certain lines here and be on certain lines there, points of accuracy, etc.
Okay, so what about a lot of you guys I know watch the show don't actually have you're thinking about getting into the biking thing. You don't have a bike yet, so you want to start from scratch. I mean, maybe you can barely ride a push bike. I know I used to be like that. Can you teach someone can Biker Bravado teach someone from absolutely no ability at all?
Absolutely. We understand how people tend to work from a balance point of view, and we need to work. We actually work with those people, and people have come to us who can't even balance on a bicycle before, and we've got them up and riding, and that takes a bit longer than the person who has been on a bicycle, and so we work with the individual, get them to understand themselves, and secondly the machine they're on, and a lot of detail goes into that teaching. And that results in a very well-rounded motorcyclist.
Yeah, I mean, you get the basics right at the beginning, get rid of any bad habits that you might pick up if you listen to your mates.
Yeah.
And you're set for a solid, safe motorcycling life. I am interested, though, on one point. I mean, you've obviously feeding people into the system. I'm surprised there isn't more involved, I've got to be honest, about getting your big bike license. I mean, the guys who are standing there and marking everything, what are they? These are all like ex-racers or what? These are properly qualified bikers?
Not entirely. I think lots of the folk are not really motorcyclists as such. And we've encouraged them to also come along and do some training with us to improve their own skills. And impart them, of course, to the tests and get a great understanding of what it is to ride. So we're out there hoping that they'll also be part of the Biker Bravado.
Oh, Malcolm's a bit diplomatic, isn't he? I don't know if it's just me, but I think he's dropped a bit of a bombshell there. Just before you go, how are people going to get hold of you if they want instruction? I know there's a lot of you want to get on a bike. I can't encourage you enough. You've got a website or somewhere they can go?
We've got a website. It's called bikerbravado.co.za.
Okay.
And people can contact us there, and we'll have some fun and get them going.
As you can see, what an utter gentleman. He will teach you to ride a bike, and you will enjoy it.